Hello there. Welcome to the setup tutorial for our miniOrange WordPress LDAP Premium plugin. In this video, we have already installed and activated the LDAP plugin. Here, in the LDAP Configuration tab, click here to select your LDAP directory server. It can connect with your server using either the LDAP or LDAP-S protocol. Enter the server host name or IP address and specify the LDAP admin username and password. Click on the Test Connection and Save button to verify the LDAP connection. The connection is established successfully and your configuration has been saved. Now let's configure LDAP user mapping configuration. Click here to view the available search bases in your Active Directory and select the search bases or organizational units. The search base you select will allow the plugin to search for users under it. Enable this option to manually enter the search filter in the prescribed format. Select your preferred username attribute and click on the Save Search Filter button. The LDAP user mapping configuration is saved successfully. Now, let's proceed with test authentication. Enter the username and password of a user present in the search base and click on the Test Authentication button. You have successfully configured your LDAP settings. Now click here to proceed to the Sign in Settings tab. Enable LDAP Login to allow users to log in to the WordPress website using their LDAP credentials. This will allow the specified users to use their LDAP credentials for WordPress login. Enabling this will allow you to automatically register users into the WordPress website when they log in. Enabling Kerberos NTLM SSO will protect your website by allowing auto login to your WordPress website. Enabling the fallback login allows users to log in using their local WordPress passwords if the LDAP server is not responsive, and enabling this will protect all the website content by login. Here you can add website pages to keep them public. And here you can choose to redirect users to a specific WordPress page immediately after they log in. Now let's proceed to the Role Mapping tab to assign a specific role to all the LDAP users who log in. Select a default WordPress role for users and enable role mapping. If you do not wish to override the existing roles of the users present on the WordPress website, click here to keep existing roles. And here you can enable the fetching the nested groups. Now in the Configure Role Mapping section, here you can assign WordPress roles based on LDAP security groups. Here, enter the search base and click on the Show Groups button. Here, you can see the group names and their distinguished names. Select the WordPress role for the security group and click here to add the group. Here, you can specify the LDAP group attribute name. Once done with the configuration, click here to save mapping and enable the role mapping based on the LDAP security groups. Now click here to assign WordPress roles based on LDAP OU. Enter your LDAP OU distinguished names and select the WordPress roles. Here, you can add multiple organizational units. Click here to save the mapping and enable role mapping based on LDAP OU. Now by enabling this, you can restrict user login by role. Select the roles to restrict user login and click on the Save Configuration. Let's test role mapping configuration. Enter the username and click on the Test Configuration. A window will pop up to indicate whether the configuration is successful or not. Let's move on to the attribute mapping. There is a list of LDAP attributes you need to fill in. Now, select your display name and click here to add more LDAP attributes. Here, you can also add custom LDAP to user meta mapping. Just enter the meta key value, LDAP attribute name, and click on the Save Configuration button. As now, attribute configuration is saved, click here to enable attribute mapping. Enable this to update user information in LDAP whenever user edits profile. Now to test the attribute configuration, enter the username and click on the Test Configuration button. A window will pop up to indicate whether the attribute mapping was successful or not. Now let's proceed to the configuration settings. In this tab, you can transfer your plugin configuration when you change your WordPress instance. Enable this to transfer your service account password as well, and click here to export the plugin configuration. Here you can import your plugin configuration file, which is transferred from the older WordPress instance. Now let's move to the Troubleshooting tab. Here you can see the configuration statuses of the plugin. Now let's see the Authentication Report section. Enable this to keep the user authentication reports even after the plugin is uninstalled. Enable this to keep the user authentication logs. You can filter the user reports as per their statuses as well. I hope the video was helpful for you, and thank you for watching.